Contact light. Okay, engine stop. ATA at a descent. Mode control both auto, descent engine command override off. Engine arm off. 13 is in.
We copy you down, Eagle.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
This country of the United States was not built by those who waited and rested and wished to look behind them. Those who came before us made certain that this country rode the first waves of the Industrial Revolution, the first waves of modern invention, and the first wave of nuclear power. And this generation does not intend to founder in the backwash of the coming age of space. For the eyes of the world now look into space, to the moon, and to the planets beyond. And we have vowed that we shall not see it governed by a hostile flag of conquest, but by a banner of freedom. We have vowed that we shall not see space filled with weapons of mass destruction, but with instruments of knowledge and understanding. Yet the vows of this nation can only be fulfilled if we in this nation are first, and therefore we intend to be first. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win.
As you can see, this old Rowell Daily News from July 21st, 1969 has information that has both national and local importance. We have headlines about the moon landing, Apollo 11, and we also have headlines about local people in the community, people who are working, people who are helping make the community work. And so newspapers reflect both national and local concerns. Now I brought in retired historian Mark Stauter and his assistant Melody to discuss newspapers and how they can help us understand history, both local and national, better.
We can remember though in school, or my generation will, that was the focus, you know. Going to the moon was the focus.
Oh, sure.
And everybody wanted to be an astronaut when they grew up.
See, I was in high school, and for like, who was the first guy? Alan Shepard. They put it on the PA system, you know. Your classes stopped, and you listened to the countdown and left off. So it was big news, you know. Walter Cronkite was down there in person.
You betcha.
So, yeah.
But in the day, that was, you know.
Of course, back in the 30s, airplanes were big, and airships and stuff. And they got first, you know, headline news. So,
Zeppelins.
just look at different things.
Progress.
Progress, yeah. Get a Rolla Herald or a Rolla Daily News from 60 years ago, and it's just a different newspaper than today. Just a lot more little stuff in there. And one thing we found, well, go back further, back when there was the Rolla Herald and the Rolla New Era in Phelps County, like just about everywhere else, you had a Democrat newspaper and a Republican newspaper. So if somebody died, you had to know whether they were a Democrat or Republican, because that's the paper they were going to get in. But Republicans were strong here. You know, say when the Civil War broke out, most of the people here were Southern sympathizers. And after the war and after the Army left, Democrats ruled Phelps County for, until the 1980s, pretty much. So, but still you have to know which way the newspaper is leaning, because they were, you know, people complain now about, oh, the newspapers are so biased and everything. You haven't seen anything until you see those papers from the teens and the 20s and the 30s, and see what these were essentially party organs. But they also had tons of other information. They had what they called country correspondents, who were people who lived out at, oh, again, there used to be little communities all over. This is, you know, back when, nowadays people, even if they live down in Edgar, they can get in a car and they can be in Wallen in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But it didn't used to be that way. That was a day's trip to Wallen back. So the country correspondents would keep track of things going on in the neighborhood. And every week they'd have a column. They'd say, the Smiths entertained so-and-so and all that.
And Polly Pord, yeah.
Yeah.
But, and you can still find those. You can find those in the Steelville Star. My aunt was one of those correspondents, so she wrote an article every week. And
now, another fun thing about the old newspapers, it'll say, well, Jim Smith was admitted to the hospital yesterday for gallbladder surgery.
Right.
We hope he comes through okay. Now you can't find anything. You call the hospital and say, we can't tell you that.
We can't tell you.
Doing genealogical work, it'll be, it's a way to find out maiden names, because it'll say, you know, Gladys Smith visited her parents, Jim and Betty Jones. So now you've got that connection, where otherwise you really couldn't make that connection. It was just hard. Maiden names are the hardest part about genealogy. Getting cast. Well, I'm also the historian for the Methodist Church, and we microfilmed the records many years ago, and I had the official volume where you put the official membership records and everything, and the instructions were explicit that married women must be entered under their husband's name. So it was Mrs. John Jones. You didn't even know her first name. And I say, you go through those papers and it's just an incredible amount of information. The Rolla papers through 1953 or 4 have been digitized. So now, at least up to that point, you can do a keyword search. But otherwise, you just got to go through paper after paper.